Hello everybody and welcome back to the shop. My name is Eric Leahy and today we're going to be creating this. Now, mental health is one of those things that is super important to our overall well-being. And whether you struggle with it or not, I feel like it's something that needs more attention brought to it. It deserves a lot more attention. So today, for you guys, I'm going to be making this heart just for you. So without further ado, let's make it. Hi, okay, so we are up in the top corner again, back small, little square, perfect. So we're going to carry on and I'm going to talk about the process in which we are making the heart. And so we're going to start it, press play, here we go. Yep, clean off your anvil, make sure it's nice, tidy. You don't want anything getting stuck to the work face. It's good if you have a good system set up. So we're bringing that out. We're going to not quite do a 45-degree angle like we're making a leaf. As you can see, I kind of flattened it out there a little more instead of having it so angled. I laid it down a little more flat to get a longer taper. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm working more towards the tip and stretching that right out to make a real nice long, not super long, but essentially a taper. We're starting square, so as you're seeing, I'm rotating quite often, making sure that it stays relatively even, although it won't really matter a whole lot. And we're gonna really make sure it looks good. It's a little dinged up, that's okay, no problem, because now that it's starting to cool off, we're going into what we call is planishing. And it's a little cooler, it'll move a lot slower, and you can fine-tune it and smooth out some of those bumps. So now we're going to take it from a square, and now we're going to make it more hexagonal, and that's the next stage in the taper. You never want to go from square to round, and it just takes way too much time if you go round to round. So essentially you're doing square, draw it out, form it, finalize it with the octagonal, and then really finish it off and planish it really nicely at a colder heat when you're rounding it off, and it makes things go much quicker and then leaves you with a nice finish in the end after you're done. When you planish, it leaves you with a nice forged finish. Now if your anvil's dinged up kind of like mine is, and I can't really clean it a whole lot or reface my anvil face because it's been used and I bought it used and it's been very abused, so I can't really take those dings out, so I'm moving it over closer to the end there towards the camera where it's a little cleaner so I can do some planishing, clean up those lines, make sure it's really nice. So that's what we're doing right now. We're really cleaning up those lines. A lot of cleanup, a lot of hitting. And yeah, as you can see, it looks pretty nice. So this is the Hot Cut Hardy. So this is going to go in the Hardy hole. It's got a nice sharp edge on there that you can see me feeling with my finger. Bang, slap it right in that hardy hole, and we are ready to go. So we're going to cut this off probably around 5 inches or so, 5 or 6 inches. I think after the other taper's been made, it's going to stretch it out about 1 inch to 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches max. And so it'll be about 7 inches total in length from taper to taper, or tip to tip. And I'm going to struggle a little bit because it wants to roll since it's round underneath my hammer, and you never want to cut through. When you cut through fully on your Hot Cut Hardy, you can damage your tooling on your edge. Never do that. So we're going to flip it around, throw it right in the fire, and same thing again. Taper it, square it up, draw that out, and I'm doing a technique here where you don't keep rotating it all the way around 360 degrees. You just rotate 90 degrees back and forth, because essentially when you hammer with your hammer and it's hitting the anvil face, it's going to mimic whatever you do in whatever angle. It's going to translate that to the opposite side. So if you tilt it 45, it's going to match the 45 on the other side, making it a perfect taper. So you don't really have to do 360 degree rotations. You can just go 90 and 90, flipping back and forth. And same thing, hexagonal, take off all those edges and then round it out. And always clean your anvil. Wipe it down. Usually it's good if you use a towel versus your hand, but I just wiped it down. And that's a perfect view of seeing all the dings in my anvil face. There we go. We're just going to work that. You're going to see me tapping my anvil every once in a while. That's not actually damaging the face. That's not what's causing those dings. That's from over time letting people try it out. They miss hit. It's very rare if I miss it. But what I'm doing when I tap is, it's a bit of a rhythm thing, but mostly what that tap is it's allowing me to have a break in the time that I'm hammering to think about where I'm going to hammer next before I hammer. So it keeps the rhythm of and the momentum going of the hammer without needing to stop. It allows me to continue forging and keep that momentum running the entire time. And we're going to round that baby out. A couple taps here and there. Give myself some time to think and really give it a nice rounded effect. So yeah, it's about 7 inches total in length now. So I marked it at about 3.5, right around the center mark. And you see my messy shop. So yeah, we're going to put a nice little ding right in there just so we know where we're going to put our final fuller in, sorry. So I pointed to where the mark is, we're facing that down, and we're going to start scrolling, and we're going to go gently over the edge, nice and easy, gentle blows, roll it over, and then hit it back on ourselves and force it down. This is a real gentle process. It's really easy to go too hard and squish it. It's really easy to mess this up, so take your time. And you can see the line that we made there very, very well. And you're going to see me setting up my hammer like that a lot, right at the hardy hole. It's a very good rhythm to do for yourself. I pointed to the same mark again, face it down, and we're going to roll it over the edge of the anvil, nice and gentle, feeding out the rod a little bit as you hit, just to make sure that you have a nice even scroll beginning before you start hitting it back on itself. Being very gentle. So the nice thing about setting up your hammer like that every single time is that you know where it is, you're ready, and you're pre-preparing, so when the rod comes out of the fire, there's no time in between. You know what needs to happen, you know where your stuff is, and it's just the same thing. You reduce the amount of time that your anvil's pulling the heat out. Your anvil's considered a heat sink. It's drawing all that heat out of your material, so you gotta work fast. So having your hammer ready to go like that, prepped and ready, so as soon as that comes out, you're good to go, and you can see a nice little mustache there, nice little double scroll. Now this is the Sharp Fuller. It's not a hot cut hardy, it's much more rounded, but it is a lot sharper, and that's going right in the hardy hole. And this one's kind of modified. I made this on my own from a couple large bolts and large nuts, so I can change it out for different bits here and there, but it always fits in the same hardy hole, which is amazing. So we're going to do that. Shop's still messy, sorry about that. So we're going to take that same notch that we made before, and now we're going to round it out. The reason being that we want to round it out instead of leaving a sharp edge like that is a sharp edge can cause fractures, it can cause a breaking point, and we don't want that. We don't want to cause any risk for cold shuts or anything to happen at all. So we're going to eliminate that completely by rounding that out, and we're just going to flatten and push some of that material back into where we flattened it out to make sure it's not too thin. So we're going to push that material back in. Let's take that out, get rid of it. We don't need it anymore. Done. And reset everything back to where it's supposed to be. You're going to see me do that a lot in all the videos. And now here's where it all starts to kind of come together. As I start hammering on it, it's going to want to form a nice rounded shape. It's going to go from less angular and more curved, more beautiful. And that's exactly what we want. We want to take our time and do both sides roughly even as much as you can. We're going to end up distorting it slightly later on, and you guys will see that. And that's all kind of part of it. But if we can get it roughly where we need to be right now, then that is perfect. So we're just going to work it back and forth. Trying to struggling a little bit with the tongs there, but that's okay. I don't always have a lot of tongs on hand, so I definitely need to make more tongs and ones that better hold my material. As you can see, I'm pushing it around a lot, playing around, and there's kind of the rough shape. Now this is a flattened out kind of ball nose punch. More flattened than some of the other ones I have. Some of the other ones are very rounded, but this one's a lot more blunt. And we're going to use this to create a divot somewhere in the heart. I'm choosing to do it farther towards the tip or the bottom of the heart. And that's going to allow me to seat my touch mark very, very nicely. So you're going to whack it a good couple times, really make sure it's kind of flattened out. And of course I throw it on the ground. It happens a lot. It's been drop forged. But that's okay. It happens all the time. No biggie. Just pick it back up and continue on. Flatten it up a little bit more. God, my shop is messy, isn't it? Oh my goodness. Seeing it in a video really puts it in perspective. You never really realize how messy it is until you're out there. or I guess until you're seeing a video. And there's the divot right there in the end and the bottom, perfectly shown. There's my touch mark, kind of showing it off before we stamp it. Clean it off again, wipe it down. Any scale that falls off, wipe it off. Slap that down, and let's drive that trademark right into there, or that touch mark, maker's mark, whatever you want to call it. You typically don't want to double hit your touch mark, but my touch mark didn't move at all. So I took the opportunity to make sure it's nice and deep, and it looks perfect, as you can see there. Awesome, and we're just going to do some touch up. It's going to distort from the ball nose punch, or the ball nose punch. It's kind of blunt, and it's also going to distort the heart when you touch mark it. That happens. It's okay. It's no big deal. And we'll just do some touch up things here and there. Make sure it's not flattened, even back out. Push the scroll back in on itself a little bit. Now what we have here is some beeswax. You can do lots of different stuff. Boiled linseed oil. You can do just raw metal if you want. I like a nice shellac finish. It leaves a really nice finish. There's all kinds of different stuff, but I'm using beeswax, brass brush, and there's the butcher block brush with very, very large bristles. So we're going to put those aside. Don't need them. Screw them. Don't need them right now. We're going to use the butcher block brush to really rip that scale right off it. We don't want any scale left on it. We want to just get rid of all that. So I'm going to aggressively brush it and make sure it's nice and clean. Because the cleaner you get with the brush, the better you can get the brass brush to kind of stick some brass to it and give it some accents. With the nice kind of blues, grays when you get with the scale and the steel when it's heated, mixed with some of the brassy bronze color from the brass brush is fantastic. And then when you bake on, well, you're essentially baking on the beeswax. It leaves a nice dark tinge to it. It's fantastic. It looks amazing. This is the new Anvil stand that I made recently. If you guys haven't seen that, check it out. I believe I posted on Instagram the Anvil stand. It's all welded up, solid metal, and that's actually filled with sand. And right now I'm doing the brass brush, just giving it some accent of some brass here and there. When the metal's hot enough, it'll actually transfer some of the brass. It'll partially kind of melt it, and it will stick or bond to the surface of the metal, which is fantastic. It's amazing, and it gives it a beautiful gold tinge. Yeah, so that anvil base is filled a little bit with sand, and that's supposed to dampen and absorb some shock from when I'm hammering. It also gives kind of a place for me to put hot things, metal, and not have to really worry about it too much. Wood will burn, and I don't really want that, so I transferred, and you can even see my old anvil base right there in the corner. Actually, I might be covering it up a little bit with my face, but it's there, it's behind me, around there. Lots of brass brush, probably more than you need, but that's okay. It depends on how gold you want it. And yeah, there it is, showing it off a little bit. And now comes the beeswax. It's kind of fun because it smokes up a lot, and you can kind of see it hitting the camera there. It's fantastic. It's a lot of fun. And smells amazing. My goodness, does it smell good. So that is pretty much the entire video. It only takes 5 minutes maybe to forge a heart. It took me a little longer because I have to record and keep setting up the camera here and there and everywhere and all this stuff. So when you get a rhythm down, it really doesn't take long to forge these things. It's not hard to forge these things, and it's a fantastic beginner piece to make because of practicing scrolls, tapers, using various tools. It's awesome. It's fantastic. Set all that stuff down, step back and look at it and revel in the beauty. We're just going to set that away for a minute and just take a minute to take it all in. You can see it on the anvil face there, and it looks fantastic. And I really enjoyed it. So that's the making of the heart. Well, that's it. We've created the little heart here. It's small, it's simple, it's easy to make, but it can mean so much more than that. And if you are struggling with stuff like mental health and you are having a hard time with it, make sure that you go down to the description below, check out the helpline information and the resources supplied down there. Make sure you get the help that you need. Talk to friends, talk to family. Make sure that you are getting the help that you need because, I care about you. If you have a friend who's going through a tough time right now, send them this video. Let them know how much you and I care about them, and make sure that they are looked after as well. Send some love. Make sure that they're well looked after. Not only do I want to showcase the heart that we made in this video, but I also want to take a moment to support our BIPOC community, and I want to do that by showing off this book that I recently read, I'm Still Here, Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness, by, if I can get no glare there, please, Austin Channing Brown. There you go. And this book is fantastic. I highly recommend this book. She goes in very good detail talking about her life experiences around racism and all forms of racism and how it comes across in her everyday life and how it affects her in everyday life, and it's fantastic. She goes into very, very good detail, so I highly recommend this book, and helps you do your part as well to support the BIPOC community. I think it's fantastic, I think it's awesome, and I highly recommend it, so please check it out, read it, it's amazing. As always, please be safe, look after one another, tell each other how much you care about each other, how much you love each other, make sure that you're getting the help that you need. If you need the help, there's always the resources down in the description below. Again, check out the resources, get the help you need, check out this book as well while you're at it. It's a fantastic book, and as always, stay cozy.